The Honourable Heather Roy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise just to take a short call on the second reading of the Biosecurity Law Reform Bill, which the ACT Party is supporting. It's pleasing to see this bill come before the House, and we look forward to its speedy progress through Parliament. The bill, as we've heard from other speakers before me, is in two parts. Part one makes amendments to the Biosecurity Act 1993 to improve and modernise the biosecurity system, and it is quite right and proper, Mr Speaker, that we do see this sort of process happening often, and in fact ACT's Regulatory Responsibility Bill, or Regulatory Standards Bill as it is now named, before the House does talk about reviewing legislation on a 5-yearly basis, which is very important so that we have up-to-date techniques and information in place. Others have mentioned in more detail the changes that will be made in this particular part. Part two of the bill amends the Maritime Transport Act 1994 to implement the International Convention for Control and Management of Ships' Ballast Water and Sediments 2004. And again, we're very pleased to see that this review and modernisation of the biosecurity system is in place. It's dependent on all of us, Mr Speaker, not just those authorities, that we all take these measures very seriously, and I would reiterate many of the points that the previous speaker from the Maori Party made about engagements from all sectors of our community in upholding these biosecurity arrangements. The first role of government, Mr Speaker, and we should always go back to first principles in law of this type, I think, is to provide for the safety and security of New Zealand citizens, and biosecurity measures fall firmly under this wider umbrella. I often talk about the need for national security measures as opposed to individual silos that seek to look after our safety and security as citizens. And it was very pleasing to see at the Select Committee that changes were made relating to border risk management. In particular, I want to mention two. Firstly, the improving of the legislative framework for collaborating with other agencies. This is hugely important. We're a small country, Mr Speaker. Each of our agencies, our departments, often find it difficult to cover the huge breadth of areas individually, but when we look to all areas of security, then we find that with cooperation and collaboration firmly in place, then we can achieve so much more and actually get real protection for our borders. And so that legislative framework allowing collaboration with other agencies is hugely important. The other area that was dealt with at Select Committee were amendments relating to readiness and response. And if we're going to tackle some of the issues that we have heard from other speakers, and in particular the Green speaker, we do need to make sure that these agencies are well equipped to respond very quickly to any threats that do arise. New provisions authorise MAF to enter agreements with industry organisations to take joint decisions on readiness and response. And again, it's not always just government agencies that we should be relying upon to provide that protection at our borders and elsewhere within our country, but very wise that we have agreements with industry organisations so that everybody is taking their role seriously to provide that protection that should be there. I'll leave it at that, Mr Speaker. The ACT Party does support this, and we look forward to the speedy movement of this bill through the House.